everyone. I am so excited to be here with y'all today. So today we are in season 4 of Best Life Abroad, Not Your Average Travel Podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today. For those who I do not know, I am Dr. Raquel, and today we are diving into the world of digital nomad visas. So I have shared in a recent post that, the election was a few days ago, and since then, I received many, many, many messages from people who would like to try something new. And that something new is moving to a country other than the United States. And so I am definitely excited to help you with that. And yeah, today we're going to talk about digital nomad visas. Okay. So maybe you've thought about working remotely from a beach in Portugal or a cafe in Mexico, or maybe even just the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. But today, I'll be breaking down how you can make that dream a reality with the digital nomad visa. So, I'm going to share some insights. I'm going to share about some different countries that not only welcome remote workers, but also have thriving Black expat communities, which is another thing that y'all have been asking about. Okay, so let's start out. What is a digital nomad? Okay, let's talk about the basics. What exactly a digital nomad visa is. So, simply, it's a type of visa that lets you live and work in a country while you're working remotely for an employer that's based somewhere else. Okay, so it is really great if you are a remote worker and you know your job lets you work somewhere else. If you're a freelancer or if you own your own business and just want to go somewhere else to run that business, you don't have to necessarily switch jobs or have to get local work authorization in order to be able to do those jobs. Now, you also want to ensure that you have a job where you can work anywhere in the world. I have said this before and I will say it again. You cannot do every job that is remote from anywhere. Okay. You do have to make sure that you have that work authorization. Okay. These have been gaining some traction lately, especially post-pandemic, as more and more companies are embracing remote work, where in the past they haven't. They've been like, you better be here, but now they're more open to it. So they do generally come with more requirements. You have to have proof of insurance, proof of income, like often a specific income. And many people also ask you to have a criminal record, a background check to ensure that you have a clean criminal record before you are able to get a visa. What makes these great is that they're much easier to apply for compared to like traditional work visas. So, and then they also let you get some experience with life abroad as a resident rather than just as a tourist. So, as a tourist, you'd be going for 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. This allows you to spend more extended time abroad, which I always recommend because, especially if it's a place that you think you might want to live at for a longer period of time or live in for a longer period of time, because you can stay somewhere for 2, 3 weeks, but you are still living life as a tourist. And it's not till you've been there for a month or two when that good, fun novelty starts wearing off and you have to go and in French and try to explain something to someone other than the basics. Then that's when you start to get the real experience of living in a country that is not your own and pushed a little bit more outside of your comfort zone than you would if you were just someplace for a few weeks. Okay. So please, please, please make sure that you double check the specific requirements and availability of the digital nomad visas in your country of interest. Because again, each country's requirements and policies are very, very different. Okay. Now, let's talk about, now that we know what a digital nomad visa is, let's talk a little bit about some countries that have become more popular for offering digital nomad visas. And some of these places not only have like beautiful landscapes to work from, but they also have strong Black expat communities, which I have been asked a lot about. So I want to touch on that. And this is important because it can be a huge factor in really feeling like you're at home abroad. Okay. I have lived in countries where I had to like travel 2 hours for a hair product. And it is not fun. And it definitely feels very othering when you go into places and spaces where it's not something you could use. You go, you have something, you're trying to be cute, your makeup ran out, you want to go grab another one real quick, and they don't have your color. Okay, not cool. So it is important to really assess your identity and how that will show up in different spaces as well. I've said this before, I will say it again. Please, please be sure to consider these things as you're determining where you're going to move. Now, Portugal is a favorite for so many reasons for digital nomads. It has a great digital nomad visa. You can live up there for up to a year. Lisbon and Porto, they also have very larger and thriving Black and specifically Black American communities. There have been some changes in terms of the digital nomad visa because so many, specifically Black Americans, have been going there. So there have been some changes. So you do want to make sure that you know what the most recent requirements and specifications are. But the monthly income requirement is about 2,800 euro. Again, that's digital nomad, and you get access to healthcare, of course, beautiful spaces and places and cities and people. It also has a strong connection to the African diaspora because of its historical ties with Cape Verde. And for those of you who do not know, your girl is Cape Verdean. Thank you very much. The Cape Verde, Angola, and other former colonies. And one thing I will also add is just because a country has ties to Africa doesn't mean that those ties are always positive. So you really want to get as much input from people, and I say people, not a person, who are on the ground in those spaces to determine whether a space is really a good fit for you. Okay. Now, another spot that's been pretty popular is Mexico. Mexico is also one that's pretty close to the US. So that could be a good hop on a quick flight home, but it still feels like it's far away. They do have a temporary residence visa that's really good for digital nomads, and has a low income requirement. If you're just getting started in a business and you're not bowling yet, then this could be an option to let you run your business, still get it to another country, but you don't have to be raking in the cash as of yet in order to be able to stay there. Okay. But cities like Mexico City, Guadalajara, and even the coastal areas are really having some growing Black communities there. So if you're looking for a change in lifestyle, change in pace, a place that might be a little bit warmer, but it is full of great people. I love Mexico personally. It's full of great people, rich culture, and also the cost of living is great. Okay. That is definitely a game changer, especially if you are thinking of a place to live in longer term. That cost of living can really make a huge difference. Okay. Now, let's talk about Costa Rica. This little gem is in Central America. It is known for its pura vida lifestyle. So, all of us can use a little bit more of that. It offers a rentista visa, which is its form of digital nomad visa. And it lets you stay there for 2 years. So if you're making at least $2,500 a month, you are eligible. Now, Limon is on the Caribbean coast, and it has a good Afro-Caribbean community. Many African Americans settle here. They really appreciate like the slower pace. It's much more eco-friendly. And then I've spoken to people who are there who really enjoy the sense of community that they have there. I did actually speak to one group of like single moms who decided to, and they're African American single moms who decided to move there together. So they have like they're building a single mom community, which I think is the dopest thing ever. So just like living their best life abroad, raising their kids, where it's affordable and they can offer them opportunities and experiences. And that's what I'm all about. So Yeah, so that's another possibility. Now let's shift on over to the Middle East. Okay, now Dubai is a unique place for digital nomads, especially those who are in higher paying remote jobs. Okay, so Dubai has a virtual working program, and this does require a monthly income of $5,000, which is a little bit higher than the other places, but also the lifestyle is definitely going to be much more upscale. But Dubai is also a very multicultural spot. Okay, so I think that there are definite draws to Dubai. But I also I want to be very clear that ensuring a space aligns with your identity is very, very important. So it is still not legal to be gay everywhere in Dubai. So again, I stress that understanding the historical and current dynamics in a country is extraordinarily important, okay? Because it can lead to life or death. It can lead to you being safe or not being safe. So you really want to ensure that you know before you step foot somewhere, what you should be expecting, particularly when we all have varied identities. Okay. So I just want to say it and stress it so that you know you have done your research to explore the history and present in whatever countries that you're considering in terms of a short or a long-term move. Okay. Now, moving abroad can be super exciting and exhilarating, but it does also have challenges, especially around like finding community. So, that identity piece is why I stress that so much. Being in a place where you see people who look like you and where you can find a support network really helps to make that transition much, much smoother. And again, I used to have to travel very far for different things like hair care products, getting my hair done. Um, I used to have to go wait until I traveled to the UK to get makeup in my tone, in my skin tone. So, there are definitely things that you want to make sure that you're taking into consideration. And like taking Portugal, for example, there are connections between African Americans and Afro-Portuguese communities. And this has been like really helpful in people of color settling and building communities in these different spaces. Similarly with Mexico, there are African American expat communities that are growing and they're offering, an increased support network. And really, the sense of community is something that I consistently hear in both of these spaces as something being like invaluable. And when you are new and adjusting and having to deal with new cultures and new languages and new foods and new tastes and new stores and new everything, it really makes that like something that's truly invaluable. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about like choosing your destination. We covered some great options for you. Obviously, those are not all of them. But let's go over a few tips for choosing the right digital nomad destination for you. Okay. So, first, you want to think about your lifestyle. Do you want city vibes? You want to live on the beach? You want something in between? You also want to consider cost of living. What are those visa requirements? Okay. So, are you trying to be balling out of control? Um, are you already balling out of control? Because if so, then maybe you can meet that 5,000 monthly requirement versus the 2,500 monthly requirement. Okay. So you want to make sure you think about those. You want to factor in health insurance. You want to think of cost of housing. And then you want to think about that community piece that we've been talking about. Is connecting with other people with similar identities important to you? Do some research to see where those networks are the strongest. All right. And I also just want to answer some quick questions. I've been getting some questions and I want to go over the ones that I get most often about digital nomad visas specifically. Okay. So what happens if my job changes is one that I get. Now, the key here is to ensure that you're really meeting the visa income requirements and that you are still employed remotely. Okay. So if you switch jobs but you're still meeting the requirements of the digital nomad visa, then you're still meeting the requirements of the digital nomad visa. So even though that job has shifted or where that money's coming from has shifted, you might still meet those requirements. So you just want to make sure that you are meeting the requirements of your visa. Okay, if you switch to a local job, for example, you might still be bringing in the same amount of money, but you are no longer working virtually. So now that's a whole different type of visa. That is now a local visa. It's with a specific employer. They have specific guidelines that they have to follow that may be different from those. But for digital nomad visa, maybe they have to offer you health insurance, whereas a digital nomad visa, you had to get your own. So that's a cost, that's a fee. There are different taxes that are required if you are hiring someone who's not from the local community. So there are a lot of things that have to be considered. So understand which visa you have and what those requirements are. All right. And be sure that you are not getting yourself deported and on the cannot return here list because you decided to run your own program and do whatever you want in somebody else's country because they don't play those games. Okay. There's a reason why the visa process can be stressful and strenuous. And it is because there are lots of requirements and things that they are trying to figure out before they let you move into their country reasonably. Okay. The second question that I get a lot is how do I find these like Black expat groups or LGBTQIA expat groups or moms or parents of special need children or educators, all these specific like focus expat groups in my specific destination that I'm interested in. And I also want to just remind you, like, I would definitely recommend that you explore these groups before deciding on a destination or before like officially moving if you've already decided on the destination, because they can help you with your move to see like, okay, what type of clothes do I need to pack? Do I never need a winter coat again while I'm there? Then I can get rid of these things. Or this is how much it realistically costs if you don't ever want to cook and you just want to eat out every day, which would be my life that I would love to have, but I digress. So I get a lot of questions around like, how do you find these groups? And honestly, social media is your friend, okay? There are Facebook groups, Instagram pages, some apps like Meetup. So I know people who are like, I'm really interested in soccer. And so moved abroad. And then now they use Meetup to find their like soccer people. Um, I myself have used these for finding different mom groups, finding other Americans who are living in different places because I wanted to celebrate Thanksgiving in countries I was living in that didn't celebrate, obviously, U.S. Thanksgivings. So, these can be really helpful communities while you're abroad to help you get that sense of like family while you might be away from your family. Okay. And so, people, that is it. I wanted to get you a quick some, notes to take. So if this is the route you'd like to go in terms of digital nomad visas, you can go ahead and get started with your research and figuring out one, what your requirements are for whichever country that you'd like to be in. Is that you like to, what type of place you'd like to be in? Do you want to be in a place that's warm? Do you want to be in a place that is the community is very interactive and engaging? Do you want to be more like isolated? Do you want a faster pace? Do you want a slower pace? So you want to think about what are the things that you want in a country. Then you want to see where that could be. And then you want to determine are digital nomad visas available there? Digital nomad visas are not available in every country. I will say that again. Digital nomad visas are not available in every country. Okay, so you have to ensure that where you're trying to go, there's a digital nomad visa available if that is the visa that you'd like to use or that you'd like to acquire. Okay, and so yeah, if you are trying to make this move, I hope this gives you some inspiration and practical guidance. Remember, there is a world out there that is waiting for you, and you do not have to be afraid because you got this. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I do also, of course, offer one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you are interested, please head over to my website, www.yourbestlifeabroad.com. And I'll be happy to speak with you and help you begin making your move abroad roadmap and help you figure out what are the steps that I need to take to get from point A to point B by this specific period of time. That is my jam. That's what I love to help people do. So I'd be happy to help you with that. And please, please, please remember that there is no time like the present to live your best life abroad. And I hope that you can take some gems from this and go ahead and get that move abroad journey started, especially for all the people who reached out. This is for you. Okay. So let's go ahead and make this dream a reality. And I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.